Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the SmackDown review for the 5th of February 2021. And I mean, there's good stuff on the show for once, and I say for once because I'm really losing hope in the show in general being good and consistently. I think I say that week by week, but it just becomes more self-evident when I have to go back and review 20 years of this program at some point, probably within the next few years, because I want to have the largest audio archive of wrestling audio reviews. It's going to be painful. But anyway, um, so we open with a graphic for the late Butch Reed, who passed away. I think it was today. I'm pretty sure it was today, if not yesterday, but within the last 24 hours anyway, which was classy. Roman Reigns comes out. Paul Heyman's with him. Jey Uso's with him too. They recap him defeating Kevin Owens, which I still disagree with. Reigns doesn't want to get stuck in the past. He notes that he beat Owens at the Royal Rumble. Reigns rather talk about the future and the future's edge. Reigns says that him winning the Rumble gets him a main event at Mania. Reigns said he, in fact, is the main event. Reigns has a couple issues. He's upset that Edge went to Raw and NXT first. He should have just come to SmackDown. That's where the main event is. And then Edge should be begging him to make him relevant again. He's mad that he came out first. Reigns notes that Edge should be out there before him. Heyman tells him that Edge is in fact in the building. Reigns demands Edge come out to the ring. Heyman yells to play his music. They cue the pyro. Reigns is angry. Edge is in the building. And he yells that Edge is disrespecting him. Don't quite understand how. Reigns notes Owens the last person to disrespect him, and now he's gone. Commentators note that 33 years ago today was the famous Hulk and Andre match on the main event, which, I mean, that was watched by millions of people. They don't need to bring this up. They don't need to acknowledge that 33 years ago wrestling actually mattered. Anyway, and then they discuss who they think Edge should challenge at Mania. Dominic Mysterio defeating King Corbin. Will this feud ever end? There's a shout out if you're not a subscriber to Bonafide Heat here on YouTube. He's a great YouTuber, and he has a nearly 30-minute audio video on why Baron Corbin is just horrible. And I'm sorry, but I think Baron Corbin is the worst main roster talent, at least in the last 10 years, if not longer. But go subscribe to Bonafide Heat if you're not already. Really talented guy who puts a lot into his YouTube channel. Anyway, match was okay, although it was too long, and we've seen this before, and no one cares about this feud. And the fact that Corbin dominates most of the match makes the only guy that's being heavily pushed under 30 on the roster look like a complete loser. So great to make him look like a buffoon. Anyway, he needs his father's help to win. Corbin jumps Dominic early, and he does this as they're making the entrance. And then he tosses Rey Mysterio off the stage. And the thing is Dominic's never going to get over as long as he's associated with Rey on his own merit. So why don't we just hurry up and get to Rey versus Dominic, father versus son? Since everybody knows that's where they're going anyway. I mean, somebody with the vision of Ray Charles could see that that's where this is going. So why don't we just get there? Michael Cole notes that Corbin's upset because Dominic eliminated him at the Royal Rumble. So is that the qualification for a feud on SmackDown these days? Just, let's get mad because you threw me out of the Rumble. Anyway, doctors check on Ray. His knee gets hurt. Back from the break, or Dominic avoids Corbin, hits a drop kick. Mysterio has a short-term advantage. He overpowers, or gets overpowered by Corbin. Corbin slows the pace down to slower than a dehydrated snail. Ray ignores the doctor's advice and limps over to ringside after being told that he should just go to the back. Um, is this match that important that Ray should risk his health? We've got to know these things. We go to another break. We come back. Corbin's got the advantage again. Um, and then he hits a standing near moonsault for near fall. Um, and then goes to 619. Corbin hits a deep six for near fall of his own. Mysterio sets Corbin at ringside, hits a dive. Ray crawls underneath the ring and out the other side. Corbin tries to get in the ring. Ray grabs the leg from underneath. Mysterio then hits 619 and frog splash for the win. Cole notes that Ray took a page out of Eddie's book, and this was the right guy won, but at the same time, they don't need to be doing this at this point. They recap Sami Zayn attacking Big E and Apollo Crews, which is alright. Big E gets interviewed by Kayla. He promises to retain his title in a three-way against Crews and Zayn later. Cesaro defeats Daniel Bryan. Cesaro, I guess, just signing a new contract, which makes me sad because I was hoping he was leaving to go to New Japan or Ring of Honor or AEW or anywhere but this company that's wasting him. As to be expected, though, Cesaro and Bryan have a really good match. Bryan has a early advantage, gets some strikes in the corner. He works the arm of his opponent. They go to the floor. Bryan hits a cross body. Bryan hits a missile drop kick and goes back to the arm. Love how Daniel Bryan works body parts. But again, he was trained in an era where guys actually knew how to tell stories. Cesaro lifts Bryan for an uppercut. Bryan counters with a backslide. Nakamura's watching all this in the back. Bryan locks on the label lock, but Cesaro breaks free. Cesaro is bleeding from striking the side of his head somewhere. Bryan sets up a running knee. Cesaro catches him with a torture rack-like maneuver. Cesaro goes into a backbreaker, into a giant swing. Cesaro then gets the sharpshooter for the win. Cesaro shows respect to Bryan. I mean, if this wasn't like Cesaro's, 10th year maybe with the company, I would care about this win. But, and I mentioned this during my Royal Rumble review, the biggest problem I have with WWE at this point is they kill guys and women off for years at a time, and then they try and heat somebody up, and by that point, I no longer care about a talent. If you're not going to heat someone up in the first 18 months, then don't bring them to the roster. Don't put them on television, because you have a finite length of time to get someone over before the average person's just going to see them as a geek, and it just is what it is. Anyway, so post-match, they recap Bianca Belair winning the Royal Rumble. Kayla interviews her in the back. They show footage of her parents watching her win the Rumble, which I think is a good touch, but I think they're overplaying this just a little bit. Braxton notes that she's got a big decision to make, who she plans on challenging at WrestleMania. Belair isn't ready to make that challenge, but it'll be soon. I really hope it's Bayley. I think there's more to be made out of the Bayley versus Belair thing, and Bayley getting beaten at Mania could be a good little angle. Speaking of Bayley, she defeats Ruby Riott. Bayley and Riott had a okay match. Billie Kay, who I don't really understand why they employ, she joins the announcers on commentary. Cole notes he thought the Riott Squad kicked her out. Kay said that's only allegedly. Riott has an early advantage, goes for near falls, goes after the shoulder. Bayley works over the arm for a while. Riott breaks free. Morgan and Kay are distracted, or they're worried about the shoulder of Riott, and then Riott gives Bayley an arm drag off the top rope. Bayley goes for the Bayley to belly. Riott rolls through for near fall. Bayley locks on submission. Kay tries to help her. Morgan yells at Kay to stop helping. and then Riot breaks free. Bailey hits a headlock driver for the win, and then Kay um, tries to give uh, her resume to Bailey post match. This resume thing's getting stale already. Edge arrives at the building and he's walking around backstage. Belair notes her life changed winning the Rumble. Choosing her opponent in Mania is the biggest decision she's ever going to make. She mentions Asuka. She mentions Sasha Banks. And see that, and I totally now acknowledge that I have made a mistake thinking that Bailey was still women's champion, but that shows me another problem with this product. Title switches happen and they're not memorable. Now that I think of it, that I really put thought into it, I remember Sasha beating Bailey some months back, but to me, I still live in the world where Bailey's champion because that's the last time I really thought the product was good. And so, for these women anyway, and so that's a major problem. I mean, I can look at, I couldn't tell you who the tag team champions are on either brand right now. I can tell you that uh, Biggie is the Intercontinental or U.S. champion based on the fact that he was interviewed earlier. Can't tell you who the other champion is on Raw, and I watch the shows every week. It's because none of this stuff matters in the long run. Anyway, so Belair basically says she's gonna put the EST in WrestleMania, which doesn't make sense because those letters don't go into the word. Reginald interrupts, comes to the ring. He thinks Belair should choose Asuka because she can't beat Banks or Carmella. Carmella interrupts, pointed out she beat Banks. Banks' music hits. She walks out. She's putting Carmella in her rear view. Banks praises Belair. Banks says she's the best. Banks notes that Belair is going to choose her. Then choose her. Banks points to Belair and it has it all but doesn't have the title. Heyman informs Roman Reigns that Edge is finally in the building. Kayla interviews Sami Zayn in the back. Zayn discusses all the conspiracy theories against him. He still has the documentary crew with him. Promises to win the Intercontinental title later. So now I know from my own notes that Big E is Intercontinental Champion, but I remember when the Intercontinental Champion was on Raw, and that doesn't feel like that long ago. SmackDown Tag Team Championships, Ziggler and Rude defeat Gable and Otis. My gosh, poor Chad Gable. What a waste of a talented guy. Anyway, pre-match, Gable and Otis discuss training they've done. They promise to beat the champions. Otis promises to use his hips tonight. Anyway, Street Profits do commentary, and they do this in a small little mini box at the bottom of the stream. Gable and Ziggler do some early mat wrestling. Heels take over, and Gable's taken to the side of the ring. Otis gets a hot tag, goes nuts, hits a suplex and a splash in the corner. On Rude, Otis follows up with a caterpillar. Gable gets the hot tag. Ziggler knocks out Otis. Gable avoids a super kick and hits a rolling German suplex. Rude takes advantage. Glorious DDT for the win. This is fine. I like Ziggler and Rude. But I really, honestly, you're going to tell me Otis belongs anywhere near in the tag team division near the top? Cole and Graves discussed Hogan and Andre match from 33 years ago, noting that 33 million people watch. Less than, what? Less than 10% of that watch now? Less than, maybe 5% of that watch SmackDown on a weekly basis right now? So, you've dropped 90 to 95%. In 33 years because you don't know how to tell stories anymore. Anyway, Hogan talks about the match from his home. Jimmy Hart stands in the background, who Hart wasn't affiliated with Hogan at the time. Hogan discusses the match. He speaks about Edge choosing between McIntyre and Reigns at WrestleMania. Edge is backstage talking to Nakamura. Not sure why they have an alignment, but they do, apparently. triple threat. Big E defeats Cruz and Zayn for the Intercontinental Championship. Zayn rolls into the ring. Cruz and Big E brawl. Zayn jumps in at the opportune moments. Big E sends him to the back, or back to ringside. Cruz hits a German suplex on Big E. Big E fights back, sets up spot on Cruz. Zayn pulls Big E out of the ring. Big E took out Zayn. Cruz hits a dive at ringside. Cruz follows up, winning a moonsault off the apron. Zayn then jumps Cruz as they cut to commercial. Zayn's in control and hits a belly-to-back suplex. Zayn tries to go after Big E, and then Big E uses power advantage. Cruz avoids big ending. Big E fights back and sends Cruz to the floor. Zayn attempts the Helluva Kick. Big E hits the Uranagi. Big E hits a splash on the apron. Big E goes off the top and hits a near fall. Cruz suplexes Zayn, and Big E gives Cruz a German suplex at the same time. Cool little spot, but not needed in this particular segment. Zayn regains control, hits a kick on Big E. Cruz pulls Zayn out of the ring. Cruz then gives Zayn a colossal press slam into the stands. Cruz jumps back in the ring, and Big E hits the big ending for the win. And then Cruz doesn't look happy that Big E's celebrating. I mean, back when the Intercontinental title meant something, I'd be really happy for Big E. I think Big E, I would love to see Big E get a main championship run on SmackDown or Raw at some point in the next 2 or 3 years. But I think, again, these championships no longer matter, so I can't imagine in 5 years anyone's going to remember this title run. Edge talks about the last 7 months of his life, talks about winning the Rumble and dreaming of it the whole time, main eventing Mania. He's dreaming of winning something he never lost. He pointed that he entered the Rumble at number 1, survived until the end to win it all. Edge lists all the options, noting he could challenge McIntyre, Balor, or Reigns. Everyone's giving Edge different advice on who he should fight. Reigns' music hits, and he makes his way to the ring. Edge makes fun of Reigns for bringing it up. He points out that he's out here alone. Reigns gives Edge his word. He's not without his blessing. Paul won't make a move on him. Edge knows that in Reigns' head, that's why he needs Uso with him. Reigns sends Uso to the back. He notes that Edge disrespected his family. Reigns demands to know Edge acknowledge him as the WrestleMania main event and say his name. Reigns gets in Edge's face. Owens appears from behind, gives Reigns a stunner. Edge leaves the ring without announcing his opponent for WrestleMania. So yet another bait and switch to try to make people watch next week because they don't know how to actually follow through on the promises they make. If you're not going to have Edge make an announcement, if you're not going to actually do that right after the Rumble like most people would expect you to, then say, hey, within the next month, Edge is going to announce. Within the next 2 weeks, Edge is going to announce. Before February 27th, Edge is going to announce. Give us a clue. But what you don't do is make it appear that one thing is going to happen and then not deliver. WWE is killing their brand because they don't deliver. Yes, they're making money, but I guarantee you, at the end of the day, give it 10 years, maybe a little longer, AEW or another company will have overtaken this brand because they don't understand how to tell compelling stories anymore. And I firmly believe that, and I hope that my health holds out long enough to see it. In any event, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Till next time, everybody.